And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the MTG Misfits show. And we are talking about Standard today. And we're going to be looking at some deck lists. Let's see what's been doing well in Standard lately. What do you think about Standard so far, Justin?
Standard, I'm going to be honest, I feel like it got a little stale for a second. I do feel like it's starting to become a little top heavy. It's only very few decks. But then again, not. I am convinced that there are some really good decks out there.
So we have a lot of different stuff going on here in Standard, a lot of different things going on, and I think everyone can find a deck that they like. So if you started winning with a deck and now you're not, 2, 3 weeks in, maybe you can jump over to a different deck list that's doing well, and that's what we're going to try to help you figure out here. And today we're going to be showing you guys best of 3 decks, of course, because we are following tournaments from around the world. The MXP Laughing Dragon tournament that was a 5K 2-slot RCQ. So this is Laughing Dragon is like the Star City Games of the West Coast, and we got 57 players in this 5K tournament. Go ahead and run us through what you think were some of the best decks here in this top 8.
We'll go over first place deck, but let's talk about second, third, and fourth real quick. 2 Dimir mid-ranges, of course.
Dimir deck that you're talking about, I mean, it's a very popular deck, and you do intend to see it when you go and play Standard, I think, anywhere right now. People are going to be running this deck, but there are several versions that you can run, right? And so it's pretty versatile. I mean,
this is a deck that won it at a 5K 2-seat RCQ.
You can start off by looking at a headliner here and a Leyline Axe ×4.
There it
How
is.
cool is that?
This is something that I haven't seen before with the Leyline Axe that you mentioned. I like the combination of cards that's going on. These Mockingbirds are starting to see a lot more play. This is kind of like a combination of 2 or 3 decks. I feel like you have the Novus Inspector and the Wardens coming from the Convoke deck. Of course, Spyglass is always good in any blue deck, especially this looks a little aggro-y. The Regal Bunicorn is actually using a few different decks. The Sheltered by Ghost was only that Boros Aurora deck at one point, and now you're starting to see this a bunch. And then the big one being the Leyline Axe. That 4 copies of this in a first place 5K RCQ with 57 people.
Really, really awesome looking deck here. A lot of cool stuff going on. As you mentioned, this is like a combination of 2 different decks, and then it has like Convoke vibes going on here. What I really like about this is that the Siren and the Inspector are both making non-land permanents when they come in. That grows the Bunnycorn because it just cares about the number of non-land permanents in play. It doesn't just count creatures, which is a bit surprising when you first read that card. So that gets huge fast. And the actual glyph, the Zodiac glyph, that's a card you don't really see that Zoetic glyph as Zodiac, but maybe it's a little Zodiac-ish. But yeah, so that card can just come down and immediately have a target when you're, in Novice Inspectoring or Sirening on one. And then also when you just put in a Leyline Axe for free from your opening hand into play, you know that Zodiac glyph is going to have that target.
And of course, one of the most busted cards in the whole set. It's an uncommon, by the way.
So good. And shout out to you for pointing it out on a previous video of ours. So check that out, the over and underrated episode 1, where we actually talk about this card. And Justin was on the nose with this one. And here it is, winning a tournament ×4 in the deck. It's very, very strong in this deck because it can just get rid of any problematic permanent on the other side. It gives lifelink to the creature, right? And so very sticky threat there.
The 1, 2, 3 curve is Spyglass Siren, Sheltered Ghost, Leyline Axe. That's nuts.
This deck is sweet. It's just doing a lot. that maybe the format wasn't prepared to keep up with. So I definitely can see how it's very resilient, right? Because yeah, remember the Zodiac Glyph, for example, that card, even if they get rid of it, it still discovers three. So it brings something back out, right? So it's like a draw card, but even better because it makes sure it's not a land. It's a very relevant spell. So just like the Enduring Curiosity, where you kill it and it comes back, so does that.
Okay, let's jump to the sideboard. Let's just go through it real quick. You got 3 or 4 Elspeth Smites, a Rest in Peace, Lorna the Third Path, couple Destroy Evils, more Rest in Peace here, 2 Negates and 2 Tishanas.
4 Elspeth Smite tells you a lot of the story of the metagame. It is not losing to aggro, not this deck, not today. I love it. It does look like it's just tailor-made for this metagame, though. To me, it's just so hard. The sticky threats are the ones that you really have to, look out for. It's just so difficult to get through a threat that keeps coming back, and that's what this deck is about, it seems. All right, now we're looking at a tournament from Japan. This is a Haruya store qualifier, 24 players. And yeah, so we can go into this first place deck here. And this is Gruul, Prowess. Screaming Nemesis. Oh my gosh, that card is insane. What do you think about that card, Justin? What does Screaming Nemesis invoke for you?
Screaming Price, because that's what the price has done ever since I see this card. It's just screaming up, 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 up. But you have your little mouse package right here. This is a go-to mouse package in any fast red deck. You got to have the mouse package. Hired Claw is the new hotness because you're getting like a shock or two for free per game. You got, from Foundations, what replace the shock because it's just a million times better. I mean, there's just so much upside to this.
Yeah, so on the Hired Claw part, you're right. It just does some damage, incidental damage, 1, 2, 3 points of damage, which is just all you need in an aggro deck. But don't forget, there's that village there, the 3 of in this deck, and so that land actually can give that lizard haste. So that's pretty brutal off the top when you already have a village in play. So it's like pretty live, So it turns into a better Monastery Swiftspear, really.
It's literally 1 green card, and that's why they're Gruul, just because of Innkeeper's talent.
I mean, what's there to say other than Innkeeper's talent is a busted card? I love that card. I mean, it's just it's so oppressive. It needs to be handled with, almost immediately when it comes down. Your opponent needs to do something about it. So yeah, I think that makes total sense to just run some green sources for such a powerful enchantment where you make anything a threat just off of this card.
I like it too because it also adds like a scaling to the deck.
So it's just a very clean, easy to sideboard. This person knew exactly what they wanted to do in certain matchups, bring in more burn, bring in more ways against control decks to go over the top. And so moves us to a big tournament that happened on MTGO. It is the Birds of Paradise Standard Spectacular run on MTGO, 220 players. And remaining victorious at the top, we see Boros Auras. What is up with this deck list, Justin? What's going on here? This won a huge tournament online.
And this one is very interesting for being a massive tournament online. And it is something that, again, we don't really see too much of. Starting with the Kellen, I don't even know what this card does. Unique, I don't even know what this card does either. The Spellbook Vendor. But if you look at the deck, look at the highest casting cost card. This is wild, right? I almost thought my little settings were broken in Arena, but then you look, that's it. It's 1 and 2 drops that won one of the biggest tournaments in MTGO in Standard.
See, this curve is insane. Literally only 1 and 2 drops, as you mentioned. Really clean when it comes to just knowing how to keep certain hands when you're trying to mulligan, because all you got to worry about is having, enough 1s and 2 drops and lands to play that. So the three of man lands here, the red white creature land, makes total sense because it is kind of an honorary 3 drop by activating it, right? So I do like the inclusion of three of those to just go a little bit wider in the later portions of the game. But yeah, as you mentioned, there's some cards in here that I don't even know what they do either, because I have to, look them up and see. Oh wait, like what is this spellbook vendor? Aggro. It's not your basic, 1 drop, 2 drop, kill you as soon as possible. This is more of a let's get our engine going, then kill you, right? This is a deck that's structured properly in saying I'm gonna use very powerful enchantments in this theme, and I'm gonna leverage those against you. And so, yeah, Sheltered by Ghost times 4 again, winning another tournament here in Standard in a different shell. There's a pattern here. It's no wonder that card spiked up. I think it's over $4 now. Yeah, so we
Oh,
got a 2 card combo going on here with these two, the scavenger and the vendor. So they start to just fuel your creatures and make them out of range. So I really like what's going on here.
and jumping into the sideboard, what I find is really cool is this card. I love that I'm seeing it has play.
I like there's not too many one ofs of like, okay, where am I supposed to put this card? And, not a lot of struggle here in the sideboard. 4 Destroy Evils. That just shows you there are so many good enchantments in Standard. You need to be able to get rid of problematic enchantments. So, we got our typical burn in the sideboard too, and the Urbrass Fort, as you mentioned, help against control decks. But I wouldn't doubt that the case of the Crimson Pulse in the sideboard was probably the best card they could bring in a lot of matchups and just wins them the game. That looks just like a really sick addition. It looks like the perfect card built for this type of shell here. So, first place on this huge 220 player MTGO tournament.
All three decks that won these big tournaments are all pretty aggro-y, but not your, not I wouldn't say you're like your typical aggro.